Okay, we're recording. It is November the 8th, 2019, and we're here for our Learning and Development Roundtable and want to welcome the folks online. Just know Chad and Christine is here, Diana Rose. We're so happy to have you. It's been a bit of a glitchy morning. We had some issues with the tech and with the gate, so we're expecting more people to arrive. But we just really want to welcome you if you're in the room with us here, and if you're halfway around the room online, although I know some people in the UN sometimes join us and they're just around the corner. So welcome, we have some other folks joining us. So we're just getting started. If you are joining us in person, just want to give a shout out to Shannon, who's in the room here. She's been working so hard. Can we just give Shannon a round of applause? Okay. So she's from Conference Services, and we've worked so hard to get this tech working. So thank you, Shannon. If you're so for folks online, my goal is for you to feel like you're in the room and you're part of our community. So I'm really excited to say we've worked hard to make it so that the folks in the room can hear the people online, and the people online can hear the folks in the room. So for that to happen, if you're in the room and you have a comment, and we hope that you have lots of comments and lots to say, just press the button on your microphone, okay, before you speak. Okay, so you might want to get one near you right now so that you don't have to fuddle around, and it's just really easy for you. And it's just simple. You just press the button and the people online can hear you. So I am going to share my screen now. And we'll just do a bit of a welcome, okay? And know again that this is being recorded, so for anyone watching a month later or a year later, you are so welcome too. So the Learning and Development Roundtable community, what does it mean to be a part of this community? This is a very broad, hopefully inclusive community. So if you have an interest in learning, in education, in training, you are welcome here. Whether your participation is every once in a while or frequently, or you dip in and dip out as your schedule allows and as the topic allows. So I just want to do a few housekeeping bits. And if you're thinking, hey, where is the person that I looked at on the agenda? Who's the guest speaker? She's not in the room yet. Really want to make her feel welcome, because believe it or not, she was on a red-eye flight. She flew in from Cairo and landed at 3:30 this morning, and she is on her way here. So she's almost here, and she's fantastic. I think you'll really enjoy her. So just a couple of housekeeping things before then. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to us. November 30th of 2012 was our very first Learning and Development Roundtable. So it's been a while, and my passport is Canadian. I'm sorry to the people online. This is the only thing we're doing that might feel a little, you know, like I wish you could be in the room, but I brought these little coconut biscuits. So I'll just pass those around. And in my tradition, I've been living in Kenya very happily for 8 years, and I hold a Canadian passport. And in my culture, we have something called a s'more. And a s'more is where you take 2 graham wafer crackers and you put a melted marshmallow in between with a piece of chocolate. And you typically do this over a campfire when you're out in the woods. And when I came to Kenya, my kids were quite little, and I thought, oh, how are we going to make s'mores? Because you can't get, or I haven't seen graham wafer crackers here. So these coconut biscuits are the things that we use to make s'mores. So I kind of like that blend, and you can just leave them there. We can pass them around as people come. I kind of like that blend of, hopefully the Learning Development Roundtable is the same. We're blending lots of different ideas and cultures and traditions. So, and hopefully there's going to be, this is a very bad pun. I you know, pardon me in advance. But hopefully there's some more coming. I know, you can groan, right? Yeah, okay. So also in the room, we are passing around thank you cards. And if this is your first meeting, know that there's not usually this much administration, but it's this time of year on our anniversary that I like to thank all the people that make this possible. And this morning was particularly glitchy getting onto the compound because someone was sick. The person I normally deal with to get the badges is away. So there's just a number of cards. If you don't mind, if you could just sign those. They're all the tech people, the conference services, the security. We don't pay for this room, and that's really unusual. So we have a very special relationship, which I just want people to feel appreciated for. So those are going around, and then we'll also have a thank you card for the speaker. So if, and then Halima will present that to her at the end. So that is also coming around, and we're just keeping those separate so they don't kind of get mixed up. Okay, I have set the dates for all of next year. So those are on the agenda and on our screen right now. So we don't typically meet in December. So our next meeting will be in January, and all of those meeting dates are booked. So keep those in mind, mark your calendar. And I would love to hear, I'll also post this on our Facebook group, but I would love to hear from those online, from those in the room. Is there any topic that you'd like to see in January? Anyone online? Is there any particular issue or guest speaker that you would recommend? Okay, I know I'm asking this out of the blue. Okay, if you think of something, I'm really here to serve you. Oh, and by the way, my name is Leanne Reagan. I'm the founder and facilitator of the Roundtable. So I will, if you're not already a member of our Facebook group, please think about joining, and I'll put a post in there asking for ideas. For example, one idea I had is Kate McBride is the chief of ICTS here, the Information Communication Technology Services. And she was supposed to do a workshop this year on learning culture. And she's a hoot. She's really a fun, outgoing, kind of gregarious person. So I was thinking of maybe rescheduling her to next year because she was called away on travel. I've also met this group that does puppets for social change. Have you heard of them? They're a Kenyan group. Sounds really interesting. So I'm chatting with them. So yeah, but I really want to make sure that I'm meeting your needs. So feel free to share ideas. Okay. Also, we have the badges that you're wearing. Those cost 300 shillings to get. And once you RSVP, that automatically goes into the system. So whether you show up or not, you get charged for that. If you're able to, without affecting your accessibility, would love to request 1,000 shilling donation. And if you're saying, Leanne, your math is off, why the extra? It's because once a year, and we'll do this early next year, the group decides which education-based group in Kenya to donate that money to. So all of the money that does not go to the badges gets donated to that group. And just a bit of a sucky side note, I'm so frustrated with myself, and this is a bit embarrassing to say. I tuck that money away, after each meeting, and I just realized I forgot to exchange the 1,000 shilling Kenyan notes. So, which is my responsibility, and I will totally deal with that. And for anyone not watching, Kenya has just changed their 1,000 shilling notes, and the old ones you can't use anymore. Does anyone happen to know, is there any way you can still change those notes, or it's done? And okay, good. Okay. Okay, so I do have an envelope here. At some point before the end of the workshop, if it works for you, I'll just pass that around, and don't put any old shillings in it. Yeah. Also, my phone number is on there, so if it's easier for you to M-Pesa me, feel free to do that. Okay, and for those of you who are new, Maxwell from the King's Eye did this video of the Roundtable. So if you want to know a little bit more about it, feel free to click on that. We have a YouTube channel or a YouTube playlist on my channel, so you can look at that. And let me just pause. Do you have any questions at all right now? Yes. And may I ask you to talk into your microphone there?
Please go up on the agenda. Just scroll up. What's that? Beef and bouquets, please.
Okay.
Do you want us to M-Pesa now or at the end of the...
Whenever it works for you.
All right, okay.
Sorry, Christine, thank you for letting me know. I turned my microphone off when someone else in the room put their, is that okay? Can you hear me now? I'll just watch for you that should work. Okay, so we're just doing introductions. We'll just go around the room. I'll just repeat that because my mic was off. We'll do the folks in the room first, and then we'll come to those of you online. I know some of you, it might be very late or very, very early. Thanks, Christine, for letting me know you can hear me. If you want to introduce yourself online, if you unmute yourself, you can speak. We will be able to hear you. And if it's easier for you, you can also put it in the chat, whatever feels best for you. And I think, Christine, you had put a note earlier, so I can read that out if you want. Diana Rose asked about the beef and bouquet. The beef and bouquet is a feedback sheet that I use, and I didn't bring them today, but the intention is to get your feedback. So I really want to, I'm not necessarily the most strategic person. I get my systems going and I just kind of go forward. So in December and January, I really want to do some deep thinking around my business, including the roundtable and how I can best be of service. So super open to feedback, whether you send me an email or drop it in the Facebook group or tell me personally, whatever you like. Okay, so introductions. Name, a role. Welcome. You are so welcome. Perfect timing. Come have a seat. We've just got a few more people coming in. We're just starting to do introductions. So your name, a role you play, and a reason about why you chose to come to our community today, why you showed up. So Halima, are you okay to start? And we'll go this way just because we'll let them sort of settle in. You want to be the last? Okay. And just a reminder, so again, we'll do the folks in the room first, and then we'll go to the folks online.
Hi, my name is Samantha Chipendo. I am here in Kenya. I've been here for the past 2 years. My husband works with the British Army. And before moving here, I was working for a company in the human resource department. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. I've just put up the sheet here so you can hear and see. And just to protect privacy, I've hidden your ID numbers, your phone number, those kinds of things. Okay, so sorry, Samantha? Yes. Oh, right there. Okay, great.
Good morning. My name is Agatha Juma. I am here because I got an invitation from Kathy and it sounded interesting. She said it will be fun. That's why I'm here. I run a storytelling platform called Engage Kenya Limited. And we do communication, training, coaching, but we also provide a platform for people to tell authentic, relatable stories. It's up on YouTube.
So that sounds like a really good topic for 2020.
Hi, my name is Farzana Remu. I'm an HR professional with Kenyan and Canadian experience. And I'm here, I think this adaptive management game sounded really interesting, so wanted to learn more about it. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Emmanuel. I'm in Kenya. I've been in Kenya for the last 1 year. I'm here because my wife is working for a Danish international NGO. So we are posted here. Then I'm interested in development work. I've been a development practitioner for quite some time. I've worked for Action Aid. I've worked for UNDP. I'm running my own small NGO in Denmark. Yeah, so that's why I'm here, just to get oriented on Kenyan landscape in development work. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. And do you mind telling us what your NGO is about?
Basically, my small NGO, which I established in Denmark, is the Danish Minorities Center for Human Rights and Development. We are focused at creating a platform for minorities, ethnic minorities in Denmark, immigrants, people of refugee backgrounds that may not have space in mainstream organizations. Then we can bring them on board. They can initiate projects. We write proposals. We engage with partner organizations in the South. And so far, we have basically been involved in electoral governance, electoral accountability. We had election observation in Zimbabwe. I trained young people. I trained some people in Denmark as election observers. I deployed them to Zimbabwe. We did slightly the same in Malawi, and we intend to do the same in Kenya. We are also trying to get some partnership with some local organizations where we can jointly develop a proposal and submit it to some donor agencies in Denmark. And we can, basically it's a very small organization. The name sounds big, but it's very small. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jody. I came to Kenya almost 12 years ago. My husband and I started a company 10 years ago. And under the umbrella of the company, I provide training and advice in the area of intercultural communication. Today I came because I love gaming and games and anything management related. So we did a project on serious gaming a couple of years ago, and just fascinated by how you can use the tool of games to see change or make people think. So yeah, very fascinated. And it's also nice to always meet new people. So. Yeah.
My name is Rita Mutegi. I came here under the invitation of Jody, who is a good friend to me. I am born and bred in Kenya, unlike a lot of you. I'm not an expatriate, so I've been here all my life. I manage a marketing firm called Myla Consultancy Limited. I think the management bit and the games bit, we are always playing games with her, and she's always on the opposing side and I'm on this other side. So it was part of the motivation to come, but also meeting the new people and just listening to what our speaker will speak to us today was interesting, or is what brought me.
Good morning. Well, my name is Halima Dube. I'm a student as well. I'm doing business. I'm Kenyan. And I have an organization. I'm a founder of the Center for Global and Contemporary Entrepreneurship, which deals with training in entrepreneurship and as well just empowering the community based in Kibra and Langata at the moment. My motivation, I've come here a couple of times, so many times, and each and every time I come, I first of all learn. I learn a lot, and as well engage with different people. So that's always my motivation, just to come and learn and take something home. So I'm glad to meet you all. I'll be passing a card around so you can jot down something. Thank you.
Well, welcome everyone once again. And we have a little bit of a different type of introduction for Lata, but I just want to acknowledge that our guest speaker is in the room, and which is significant because she landed, and this is completely true, she landed at 3:30-ish this morning from Cairo. So she's been on a night flight. So the fact that she agreed to do this makes her even more of a rock star than I know she is. So we'll come back to her in a minute. But just to open it up to the folks online, just wanted to let you know, and please feel free to correct me if I'm saying your name wrong, and pardon me. Christine says, I chanced upon this webinar from Facebook. I'm Christine, an HRD professional in Singapore Hospital. Joining me is my team member, Hui Hui and Si Min. Thanks for the intro. So Singapore, how cool. You are so welcome. We're so excited you're here. Thank you. Chad or Diana, did you want to introduce yourself? It's always that thing of online. You want to give people time, but you don't want to make people feel awkward. So, okay, Chad or Diana, if you're both muted right now. So if you did want to introduce yourself a little bit later. Oh, Diana says yes. Did you want to unmute yourself, Diana Rose, and introduce yourself? And Chad says he'll just type something. Great. Okay, Diana, I can unmute you. Okay, so
okay.
Diana, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Diana Rose Njui. I'm a Kenyan. I'm a teacher by profession. Yeah, though I work for a non-governmental organization called Education Development Trust, where we are funded by DFID on a girls project. We work in urban slums. You'll find us in urban slums doing teacher coaching and also checking the girls' enrollment and the attendance in school and performance. So we are in urban slums in Nairobi, Mombasa, and also in arid and semi-arid areas. That is in Turkana, in Samburu, Marsabit, Tana River, Kilifi, and Kwale. So my work basically is about teacher training, where we get teachers from the slum areas. I work in the field in a cluster of 7 schools in Madare slum, where we do teacher coaching. We follow up with we train the teachers on a model called direct instruction model, and then we go observe their lessons and ensure that they are teaching according to the way we want them to teach and according to the Ministry of Education in Kenya, because we find that most teachers in the slums, they are not trained teachers and they still handle children. So we want them to be at par with the requirements with the government. So that's why we go there, we do the teacher coaching, and also we do the lesson observation, and then also we track on the girls' enrollment in school. So that is basically my work. Yeah, thank you.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome. And Hui Hui, and if you want to introduce yourself, feel free. Diana, I'm just going to mute you again. And I can see Chad is from Vancouver, my hometown. And it's 11:30 there right now. So we know that Chad is in his jammies and he's got his feet up. And Chad, thank you so much for joining us. It says, very interested in organizational learning development and change, and currently moving into that field of work. Met Leanne a month ago and learned about this roundtable from a colleague. Here to listen and learn. Welcome, Chad. I believe, Chad, you're with Spectrum, I think, yeah. Who is an amazing organization who works with people with developmental disabilities to create lifelong community and support for them. They do absolutely amazing work, and I got to work with them this summer. So, okay, anyone else want to jump in? Yeah, and he says yes, spectrum, yeah. Okay. Okay, so then let's turn back to just a quick introduction, a way to sink into this topic. So if you have a piece of paper, feel free to grab that and a pen. If anyone needs a pen, I've got some here. For those online, feel free to grab a pen or a pencil and a scrap piece of paper. Anybody need a pen? Paper? Can I get you to just get that back to me at the end, Lena? Okay, so I'm going to invite you to do an exercise, and this involves not looking at your piece of paper. Okay, so if you are comfortable closing your eyes, you can close your eyes. If you are not comfortable closing your eyes in public, just look up or look away. Just don't look at your piece of paper, okay? And know that no one's going to see your piece of paper unless you would like them to see your piece of paper. Okay, so on the left side of your piece of paper that you're not looking at, please draw a tree. Okay, it's the left side of your paper. Please draw a tree. Do you need, have you got paper there? Okay. Okay, so you want to not look at your paper, and on the left side, draw a tree. Okay, and then on the right side of your paper, please draw a house.
House.
A house. Mm-hmm. Okay, and in that tree is a bird's nest. Please draw a bird's nest in the tree. Draw a bird's nest in the tree. Okay. And that house has a beautiful little pathway from the front door. Please draw a little path out from the front door of that house. And in that bird's nest, in that tree, there's a little baby bird. Please draw a baby bird. And if you happen to have already drawn a baby bird, you can draw another baby bird in the nest. And on that beautiful house that you've drawn, there is a chimney, some kind of chimney, and it's got some smoke coming out of it. So please draw a chimney on your house with some smoke. And then in that nest with that baby bird in that tree, there's a mama bird feeding her baby. Please draw the mama bird. A lot is like, why did I agree to do this? Exactly. This will end soon. And finally, that beautiful home that you've drawn, there's some trees or some flowers on both sides of the home. You could draw some trees or some flowers, your choice. And after you've done that, you can take a look at your masterpiece.
Not that bad.
So Lotta's reaction was not that bad. That's a very common reaction. Yeah. So I just want to spend a couple of quick minutes debriefing this exercise because I really want to get on to Lara. But first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to draw with either your eyes closed or not looking. And the reason why I chose that exercise is because Lara's going to be focusing on learning culture and adaptive management, which includes things not going in a straight line, right? Includes complexity. And it's quite common for people to do that exercise and laugh or smile afterwards, and yet potentially during the process be a little anxious about, is my tree in the nest? Is it hanging out in space? So a little bit of a way to ease us into the topic of adaptability and also vulnerability, right? When we are trying to learn something new, I don't think we think enough about that means that I don't know it. And adults like to be confident and professional and in the know, and being vulnerable can be really difficult. And particularly with learning cultures, with teams that may or may not trust each other, it can be hard to be vulnerable. And I think vulnerability and learning go hand in hand. So any thoughts on, including for the folks online, feel free to unmute yourself and or put a comment in the chat. What was that like for you to do that exercise?
The temptation to look in the beginning was absolutely overwhelming.
So just in the beginning? Like, did that change?
For me, just in the beginning. Then after that, I thought, what's the worst that can happen?
Okay.
The bad, mama bad can be on top of baby bad, they're bads anyway. And once I let go of the need to ensure it's done right, it was fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we could spend an hour just unpacking that, right? Because what I hear is adaptability, right? I changed my strategy. At first, I had an idea of what was right, and then I kind of relaxed into that. Yeah, and had some fun with it. Absolutely. And also the definition of what's right seemed to change, right? Yeah. Yeah, most people, when they look at it afterwards, have this delightful, like, oh, isn't that fun or funny, as opposed to, although some people, and there may be some people in the room or online, occasionally I'll see someone, they're doing this, like in one place. Can you think of what they might be trying to do? Do you mind putting your mic on? Sorry.
Need to scratch out what they're doing, like to cancel it out?
Yep, possibly. Okay. They're also trying to make an indent in the paper so they can mark, once they get a sense of, I'm asking them to go back and forth. It doesn't take too long for people to clue into, I'm asking you to go back and forth. And some people who have a high need to be particular and detailed and right, they want to make sure, okay, I can now feel with my finger, where is that nest? Was there any other strategy that you used, folks online or in the room?
I think for me, I was like feeling it, like going both sides to the end, because obviously I drew to the end. So I was going to the end to make sure that it's clever. There. Yeah, okay. So I was sort of like feeling it. Yeah.
So again, I don't want to push this metaphor too far, but you were adapting, right?
Yes.
In a sea of complexity, like I have no idea where that tree is or that house. Yeah. You were adapting, right? Yeah. Which is what, all today is about. Any other comments before we shift on to introducing our rock star today?
Actually, when you started, I didn't even know what it was about. But for me, I thought you want us to put ourselves in someone's position whose world is blind, so that if you're blind, this is how it feels. And sort of like it made me appreciate, I don't even know how to explain it, but I thought you're sort of like asking us to feel if you didn't have your sight, how would you?
Yeah. So
that's what came to my mind, actually.
That's beautiful. And what I hear in that is sense making, right? Trying to take this curious, what is she doing? And trying to put some sense on that, right? By the way, a total aside, if anyone is interested, there's an amazing app. Have you heard of Be My Eyes? Oh, it's so good. So if you download this app, millions of blind people or sight impaired people are on this app, and when they need something, they go and do a request. And so you'll get a little like, hey, Agatha is needing something, and you click, and you have to be super fast because there's more sighted people on it than people who, and so I've done like this guy in Kenya who was moving into his dorm, and he took his phone with his camera and he panned it around his dorm, and he said, can you explain my dorm to me? I'm like, oh, of course, like that is so cool, of course I can do that. So it's called Be My Eyes. It's a very popular app. So Agatha, thank you for that opportunity to tell you about that. Sorry, Samantha, that was a test, you passed. And thank you for correcting me, I appreciate that. Yeah, so just a little aside, if you're interested in that, it's quite fun. If you do register though, you do need to be super fast because the requests just get snapped up right away. I also just wanted to mention that we have some biscuits in the room as a way of celebrating. This is our 7th birthday. I know people have come in at different times, so please feel free to help yourself to those if you wish. Okay, Charlotta, who flew in at 3:30 this morning. Our tradition at the Roundtable here is I ask speakers for 6 words or short phrases that have stories behind them. And then I say those to you, and you get to choose which ones you want her to introduce herself with. So, and I told her, I'm like, these are the best ones I've ever received. I'm like, I want to know the story behind all of them. So they're on the screen here. So her first one, so basically after I read them out, I'm going to ask you, including the folks online, to pick 1 or 2 or 3, and that's how she'll introduce herself. So the first one is Obama and I. The second one is New Year envelopes. Third one is elephant in a china shop. Fourth one is hills and mountains. Vaccinations. And boring is more fun. So think about that for a minute. Lotta, I'm going to ask you to come sit here so that folks online can see you. And I will sit close to you if that's okay, to monitor the chat and all of that. So we're just going to quickly switch places. Will I be able to stand later on? Yeah, I can change the camera angle, sure. Do you want to stand now? Nah, it's okay to sit. Okay. So you can see yourself right there. So I can see myself. You can see what they're seeing. Yeah. Okay, so of those 6, which one comes to mind that you'd like to? What's one thing that you'd like her to describe? And folks online, feel free to participate. You can type something in the chat.
Boring is more fun.
Boring is more fun. Okay, let's start with that one.
But I haven't really introduced myself yet. So because there's another one that's more.
You have the reins. You can do whatever you want, as long as it doesn't hurt my technology.
Okay. Boring is more fun, right? So think about it and think about your own childhood. You're younger than I am. Didn't your parents ever tell you to just not watch television or not check your phones or not do something that's like indoors and what you really want to do, but instead go out and do something outside? My parents said, no, only 1 hour of television every day, as a child. And today, when I have children myself, I have 2 here, they go to International School of Kenya. I try to remember, I kind of remember that the fact that I only was able to watch 1 hour of television every day made me so creative. I just had to find other ways to have fun, right? I couldn't really distract myself from being creative. So I'm trying to push my own kids to do it. The time we have now, there's, you have the You have the television, you have the phones, you have the PlayStations, all of that all the time. Just extract them from that. So when we are on a holiday, for example, and they don't have internet access and they don't have anything, that's like can distract them. That's where they start playing with the sticks and right, making up their own games. I think that's has been it's one of my mantras. If you just slow down and you set yourself in a position where you're bored once in a while, you will become more creative. You're nodding. Oh yeah, am I right? Good.
And we've had, that's great, thank you. And we've had a request to explain elephant in the China shop from online.
Yeah, so that's me. I know that, elephants are considered to be really wise and strong and thoughtful, and they're really smart and blah, blah, blah. But when I say that I am an elephant, I more think of the bigness that you in a small place, in a China shop, for example, and you turn around and then something will fall down. I mean, definitely. I'm Swedish, so I blame it on my culture that I'm a bit direct, that I tend to ask questions that might be too personal sometimes, or it's just the wrong way of saying things. I am definitely struggling with being a Swede when it comes to intercultural settings, because I'm way too direct and want to go to directly to the point. That's the elephant.
Great. Okay, and one more.
We're
Obama,
in Kenya,
right?
surely you can't pass the opportunity to talk about Obama and you.
I'm so glad you chose that one. Okay, good.
Good, because Obama and we have a lot in common. You wouldn't believe that. But he and I, Mr. Obama, we are in that, it's one group, it's 2% of the population only that are ENFJ. And this is Myers-Briggs. This is a personal ENFJ. So yeah, J. So in Myers-Briggs, it's like 16 different personalities. And Mr. Obama and we are protagonists, right? We are also, we've been working in politics. He's a politician, but I've been, all my life in Sweden, I was a political advisor. So I was working next to politicians all my life, taking their visions and ideas and operationalizing them. So strategy and policy, that's what I do. He is American he's half American. And I am working for the Americans. So right now I'm working for USAID, and I'm doing the learning for them. So I'm a learning advisor working with the mission in Cairo, and that's why I came in late last night. And also working for the USAID mission in Uganda. So I'm helping them learn to adapt. That's basically what I'm doing.
Great.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of an introduction. We were hoping for phone numbers of Obama.
So we haven't shaken hands yet, but I once in 1991 I shook hands with Nelson Mandela. I have to say that, right? And probably Obama has shaken his hands too, don't you think? So, right? Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Sorry? No, Nelson Mandela came to Sweden right after he got out of prison. So yeah, we met him at the airport, and oh yeah, such a big moment.
Okay, well with that, we'll invite Lotta to dig into her workshop. So thank you for that introduction. Thank you for coming with crazy. I really hope you can just completely relax tonight and go to bed very early. And I have your PowerPoint queued up, so just let me know
Yeah, and this is where I need to stand.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so. Can you think when you're sitting? Yeah, I can't. It feels like I can't. I don't have access to my own thoughts when I'm sitting. So I really prefer to stand up. Can you help me with the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
So, how many months ago did you have the gaming roundtable here, Leanne? Do you remember?
Ooh, I don't.
Is it half a year ago?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm complete blank.
Yeah. So if it were 6 months ago, it could have been. I was sitting here in this room. No, we were upstairs, listening to Leanne about how you can turn training into gaming. And I was sitting there, and I had this idea for months. I had an idea that needed to come out, and right there in the room, I'm like, now I know what to do. Right? So what I've been doing for the past 5 years is basically training in how do you set up a system in your organization to make sure that you learn as you should, adapt as you should, to improve impact. And that works. Are you saying that you're in a very small organization? It's actually the same for a small organization as it is for USAID. You still should have a learning plan. You should think through, how do we deliberately learn to be able to correct the course? So we learn from what's working, what is not working within, but also from the context, to make sure that you can shift course. So you see that, we wanted to train all these girls, for example, in whatever it could be, agriculture. And you see that it's working. It's getting there. But the indicators that you have to report on from a donor, they don't really show you success yet. And the donors are getting more and more frustrated. They're like, okay, we need to see that the outcomes and the impact. And then you have to take a step back and think through what is going wrong? Where is it wrong? How can I learn from what we're already doing? But how can I also learn from others to make sure that we then adopt the right approaches, right? And you are struggling in your organizations, in your companies, you're struggling with exactly the same as USAID that I'm working with. So the game here is for USAID. It's for project managers to start thinking about how they can develop a learning plan to make sure that they achieve higher impact. Okay? So for this, I need to go through a few concepts. And these concepts, when you hear them the first time, you're like, sounds great, but it's kind of difficult to know what's behind it, right?
Sorry, Lotta, I should have asked you this before. Is it okay to post this PowerPoint to the group?
It is.
Yeah.
It
okay.
Is. Yeah.
So everyone know that you can access once we get all the resources uploaded. In addition to the video, you can also access the PowerPoint.
Yeah. So I always start with the USAID managers and the organizations that are attending this session. That, you know what, you will think at one point or another, you will think that this is common sense. You know, it's not that difficult. It sounds really complex, and it's like there are words around it. Adaptive management. It's like, you know, nice words, but you don't really know what it is. But when you understand what it is, you're like, well, that's common sense, right? So we called it common sense, just to also to demystify it. Where do I touch to get the next one? So adaptive management, I can't walk. Adaptive management is where the common sense comes in. It's basically, you correct the course as you go. You manage your teams, your organization, to constantly do adaptations. So give me an adaptation that you've been through. What did you do? Yeah.
In our last game, we all had to adapt to drawing without looking, which is the norm.
Oh, right. Exactly. And you put yourself out there also. Do you have more examples of when you had to change strategy in an organization or in your own life?
I think for me is coming to Kenya, and obviously when some things are different, I've sort of like had to adapt. Even, you know, going to the market, you have to adapt and say you have to negotiate, right? Because otherwise you're going to be charged high. So you have to sort of like adapt and say, yeah, you have to bargain with whatever. So I think I've adapted that way.
Yeah.
My negotiation skills.
Yeah. But the starting point of adaptation is normally that something is not working, right? So that's where you start. So if it's negotiations in the markets, you realize that just asking for the price is not working, right? Because you get too high prices. Then you have to think through, what is my strategy to come around that and still get what I need, right? And the donors that are funding your organizations and you yourself also will have to apply that on your own organizations, where you're working. I took the definition from USAID, their rules and regulations. It's the approach to making decisions and adjustments. So when we talk about the big words, the adaptive management words, it's actually the way you are identifying the problems, finding this, findings the why is there a problem? You might have to collaborate with a few to understand why there is a problem. And then finding a solution, right? So that's, you can, in the market system or a drawing here is like, if you think about it, that's exactly what we did. Next one. Why do we have to apply adaptive management? Because it leads to better results. Because you get lower prices, right? Or you get a more nicer picture, or you get better results on the ground. The girls are actually trained afterwards so they can improve their lives. It's easy, and you might have a program cycle that you have to conform to, or you have one inherently in your organization. You have the work plan, you have the reports, you have the annual reports, you have check-in points when you're looking back at what happened, what worked, what didn't work, and so on. In a program cycle, you can take shortcuts if you apply adaptive management. Because maybe you can't wait until the evaluation, or wait until the end, or wait until, and even the end of the year, you need to know quickly what is working, why it's not working, and how you find solutions. Yeah? CLA is the big approach that USAID is working. And I can assure you, since I've been working with SIDA and some with DFID and all the other guys, big guys, UN, have approaches where the adaptive management is driven by collaboration, learning, and adaptation. I've been talking about the learning, I've been talking about the adaptation. The collaboration is an integral piece. Without it, you can't do any learning and you can't do any adaptations. So the collaboration piece is to get ownership, to get buy-in, to make people understand why they're on this road. But it's also because 10 brains are better than one, right? So you get better solutions. You understand the why, and you learn better together if you are more brains in the room with different perspectives, different backgrounds, different knowledge on the ground. So you can't really do learning and adaptation without the C, right? And this is my role, to help donors or USAID to understand how to do this in practice. So that's where yes, next one. Sorry, why CLA? This one is kind of quick, and I've already talked about it. Sustainability, right? Yeah, collaboration, learning, adaptation, because it's more sustainable if people are getting along, are with you on the road, right? I'll skip the second one because it's very USA related. Reality is complex. So you won't know when you design an organization, when you send in a proposal, or when you are thinking of something you want to do in your organization. You won't know exactly what it looks like a year ahead, or 2 years, or 3 years ahead. You have to have an adaptive organization to be able to shift to contextual shifts, or something new is coming up. And you know that, you even if you think that this is what we're going to do, you will end up, there's going to be something around it that's like changing. So there's no political will, or suddenly there is a storm, or a landslide, or it could just be the fact that the husbands to those girls that you're training, or their fathers, are not on board. Something will come up that will prevent you from achieving the results. Having a system, a deliberate system in place on how to react when such things happen, is what we're doing here. Okay? Then we go to the next one. So how do you adapt? That's the big question. So that's where the game comes in. Yeah. So
Lada's just going to pick up the game.
Yeah. And the perfect size here. Size of the group here. We will sit down there, all of us, and work together. I have a board game, like Monopoly, Yeah. So it's there. And I also have cards that you're supposed to put together in a pathway of learning and collaboration to adapt. So I'll give you the rules soon. That's the idea here now, and I give you a problem that you're going to work on. You don't have to come up with one. I already have one here. Next.
And Lada, I'm just going to ask if it's possible to stay near the computer.
Okay.
So just because we're all
okay, so
can we adapt to include the people online? Yeah.
Excellent. So the idea that's I'm always saying is that, and this is how it's so closely related to organizational development, and that's why also this drawing exercise this morning was a fantastic example of how important it is that you have a culture, an organizational culture, that is making sure that people feel safe to fail. Okay. They're putting themselves out there. They are a bit innovative. They feel that they're being heard, that they are that their voices matter, because otherwise they won't be able to collaborate. We won't be able to get the potential out of them. So when I'm building an architecture for a learning organization, an organization that is learning constantly, I realize that there are so many building blocks that we can use to build that learning organization. So here, you start in the bottom of the pyramid. All those building blocks are input, where you get input, where you learn from outside, or from reading, or from talking, or from understanding things. The green ones here, it's learning events, meetings. You have an after-action review. It's very American to have an after-action review. I don't know, have you ever had one? It's actually a term. It's from the American military, actually. So after they do something, they sit and debrief. What went well? What didn't go well? How can we learn for the next? It's a fantastic methodology, actually. Stakeholder engagement, engaging stakeholders all the time, to make sure that you learn from them, because they will have the pieces that you need to adapt. The next layer is where you process the learning. And this is the layer where most organizations forget that how important this layer is. Because you cannot take all the learnings and the inputs and go straight to adaptation and make a decision. You need to process it. You need to think through it, take different perspectives into account. You need to prioritize. Because all the ideas and all the learnings that you get from the input or the stakeholders or the beneficiaries or whoever you're working with, they're not good, right? So you need a process where you think through it to make sure that you make the right decisions. And the top one is very USA-ish, so don't bother so much about that. It's about where do they make the decisions. You have other building blocks in your organizations, in your companies, because it's the arena, the platform for adaptation. I would say work plan is like the most obvious one. That's where you do an adaptation. Or an agreement with someone. Could be like a board decision also, if you promise to follow up on it. Okay, questions on this? You're eager to start? Yeah, good. Here are the rules. So I put you, I think you have to come here. Can you move your chairs here or? You're going to here, so I can control the computer.
Okay, lovely folk online. We're going to do our best to show you this board, and I'll kind of talk through also what they're doing as well. So right now she's laying out a bunch of, she's got the board game laid out and the cards here.
Yeah. Can you put that the yellow ones on that side? The red ones, we put them here. And then you have all these also. This looks like it's complicated, but it's not really.
Can I just, at the risk again of pushing this metaphor too forward, for folks online, this room is not set up for learning. The tables don't move. And there are people now sitting inside the circle and I had to climb over or under. So thank you for adapting.
So here, this is the start. Here's where you start. And you see that the blue cards are the input cards. These are here. So you would normally start with a blue card and then go into a yellow card of a blue card and then adapt in the end. You might see along the way that, we need to understand more, so you have to loop back to the learning before you continue on it, because that's always happened. You meet something that's like, we don't know.
And here's an example of another card, another category.
Yeah, and you see, so I think that you should, you see here, senior management team. This could be a board decision, or it could be the one who owns the company that's making the decision. There is an explanation on the back, on the side back, but you might not need it. So you have to define it as if you find it fit you. Okay. And then you have these round green cards. Those are, if you need them, more specific on how those are the learning events. Is it a workshop you want to do? Is it Is it a workshop
So
you want to do?
here's
Is it
an
a
example of a
training you want
green
to
card.
do? Is it the learning fair you want to do? What is it? What is the learning? What does the learning event look like that you need to do here? The black ones are research. Do you need research for this? Can you commission it? Is it a case study? Is it a desk review? What do you need? It's a product. And all the blue ones are stakeholders. Because there is a C in this game. There is a collaboration in this game. Which stakeholders are you bringing in?
Jody, can you pass me a black one? And I just want to give them an example. Okay, I've got a black one and then a blue one. Yeah, great. So here's a.
Yeah, unfortunately they can't do that. It's okay. Yeah. Are you eager to get your problem?
Yes.
Okay. So the one that people have picked. Yeah.
So here's an example stakeholder.
The one that people tend to pick a lot is the gender balance in households.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So I have normally 5 different problems. I have a problem that says, what do you do if you realize along the project that there is no political will for this, so you can't achieve your outcomes? Like in Uganda, where the president says that it's good to have many children, which makes people have 6 children per family. And USAID's goal is to lower the total fertility rates. How can they, they can't really they can't achieve their activity if the political will is so strong to not lower the fertility rates. So what do they do? Another one could be, I have one here on tuberculosis. They have just designed a new project. It's just come out. And this new project that is supposed to lower the TB prevalence, they realized that there has been a previous project that did exactly the same thing, and they did it for 5 years, but when they closed, the TB went up again. What do they do? This new project have the same design, the same goals, the same indicators. What do they do to make sure that they are more sustainable than the last ones? And now the households. So you are now the group running a project that's it's supposed to achieve it's a health project to achieve health outcomes in a region where you're working, and you see that there's something that's not making the project really achieve the outcomes. So you go along, you go out to the site, you go there to the village. You end up having a wonderful conversation with a group of young women on a rice field. We don't have rice here, do we? No, but let's pretend it's cassava. That reveals that they are the ones doing all the work, both on the fields and at home. The men take the products to town to sell, but often they come home empty-handed. There is no money for healthcare. The girls must help in the fields and can't go to school, and the families have trouble accessing the market to get the better income. You suspect that the inequality between men and women in the households is the root cause of the lower results. So you suspect it, that's why the project is not achieving the health outcomes, because the money is not distributed well in the household. What do you do in your project to start adapting? Right? And I would say, if you need help, that's like, okay, what do you learn? What do you need? Because you don't have the evidence yet. You don't know if this is true yet. So maybe start in learning. That's a clue. There's no right and wrong. I just telling you. Yeah.
So are we doing this as participants or as people who are
You are managers.
Good
Perfect
question.
Very good. This is the management team.
Options are.
See that there are empty ones? If you use a whiteboard marker, you can add. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll just start from the top. There's all staff meetings, site visit, learning events, research activities, stakeholder engagement, decision tree, OD assessment, informal learning, after action review, monitoring, and then feedback loops. What about feedback loops?
Since we say that we always begin to the problem.
Can we also turn that mic on there? That might also help on I would possibly start with a stakeholder engagement, because it's at that meeting where we learn what some of the hurdles would be. My thought.
Does anybody else have any thoughts?
I think we can just also keep that mic on. It might be, yeah.
Is that okay? Should we begin with the stakeholder engagement? Is that okay? Are we?
I like just to give I like the idea of feedback loops. Maybe talking to having these informal I guess meetings with the families to understand what's going on, to understand what the root causes are as well. That could come later.
For me, begin with research activity. Begin with research activities just to get a hint of what is really going on before we can probably go to any other stakeholder and do.
I'd begin with, there was a card that was read that said informal learning.
Yeah, let me give it to you.
Yeah.
Let me actually put them inside. Let me put them in.
I would start with informal learning, because it is from informal learning where we realize that there's a problem. And before we formalize anything, I would be keen to understand the cultural connotations behind men taking the product to the market, but it's the women who work on it. What do they do with the money when they get to the market? Why do they come back? As an African woman, I know that before we then formalize the conversation on why this is happening based on assumptions, it would be good to understand the underlying factors for me.
So here the problem is when the men take the product to the market, but when they come back, they don't come with resources. So there's something that happens at that market. And perhaps we visit that. I think that's someone said. We do a site visit, find out what is the cause, because the product is there, there's no problem. The problem is there a market actually? Do the goods get destroyed? Does someone say?
Really?
Of the men. This problem is common in most countries where you are fishermen that go out to catch fish, but they stay longer and longer there because they end up getting married, have no families and so forth. By the time they go back, they don't have resources.
Agatha, do you want to say more?
I have a lot to say, but I'm imagining that this is an assumption that the problem is just not on market day. Say again, sorry? The problem is just not when the product is being taken to the market based on what on what she said. It is the entire value chain from the seeds to who does the work, to who tills the land. What are the men doing when the land is being tilled? So I'd be curious to know, because this is not something new, it's age old, why? And that's why for me, informal learning would be the first step as we then
think of formal interventions.
I like the idea of combining the informal learning with this something about stakeholder. If you could do some informal training of some of the key stakeholders and have them gather that data, that could be really helpful.
So I guess now the question is which one you start with, because it sounds like they're all very important.
They're related, yes.
And you see that the board is so big, so you should consider doing several. It's not a linear path. It can be several interventions at the same time, or first this, and then this, and then these two.
And I like that you pointed out the assumptions we made, and that is, I can imagine before you meet the stakeholders that you have to get more information first, because of otherwise the risk we make those assumptions on where the money gets lost.
But could in the stakeholder meeting be also a data collection or a research kind of a thing? Another question for the instructor: is this an already commissioned project that the project manager is coming to take on? Because I'm imagining critically thinking, what normally happens is there is a brief, you're told, you've been given the problem statement, and so you're trying to align the project or the program to what the problem is.
Yeah.
So in this case, the problem would be what he stated, right?
Yeah.
And so as a person who's landing into this project, the question would be, what would be the first step of interaction be for the project? I would think it's possibly to ascertain that what you have read on the paper, the assignment paper, is what is truthful on the ground. So like she's saying, maybe we can start with more than one interaction.
Okay, so we're putting the stakeholder engagement there, and then after that, informal learning, research.
Can I just ask folks just to speak up?
So I was thinking first, you understand the project, you go there, understand the environment. So a site visit to take precedence first. Then also that also informs which kind of stakeholders you're going to engage. Because if you start with stakeholders, then which stakeholders, because some stakeholders might be missed. So first you understand the environment, then you map out the stakeholders, thereafter have a stakeholders engagement, then thereafter have some other activities, in my view.
Yeah, I do. Okay, so site visit, informal learning.
Yeah.
Research.
And then, where do you think the research falls? Because I feel it also goes hand in hand with the informal learning, because you've got to do a whole research in terms of what drives them to that. So I think
your research will be informed by informal learning, because then you develop your appropriate questions and so on based on what you have learned. Then you do your research.
Yes, but do they go? I think they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand. Yeah.
I have a question. Which site are we visiting?
To the market.
Is it the area, the area where cassavas are grown? Yeah. Is it the farm? Is it the market?
For me, I was thinking that it's going to be the market, because obviously that's where they're expecting that the husbands should be bringing something back. So once they've taken the goods, but they're not coming back with anything. So the site that I was thinking is
that's where the problem is.
Where the problem is.
So a decision has already been made on where the problem is. It is in the market.
Yeah, but also the question is, why are the women not going to the market? So then you also need to go back to say, why should it come to the men? So you also need to go back to the ground. So both site visits, you go to the market, you go to the production point, visit the families, and find out what is that. Why don't they get changed? There's something hindering the women from going to the market.
It can be something to do with culture that, women must stay behind and look after kids and cook and do all that, while the men are sort of like the breadwinners. They go out there and they're supposed to bring back something at home. So it's just, I don't know.
I'm seeing a card for staff meeting. And I just wondered, to do the site visit, to do the learning, to do the research, you have to work with a team, right? So wouldn't it be possible, a good place to start then, so that we can now do what we are doing?
I agree.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I guess that's why I said it's more wrong or right.
No, right
because,
or wrong.
yeah, actually, yeah, that sort of makes sense as well, because obviously you have the staff meeting and then you say, yeah, this is the problem, and then we go from there. I suppose in the staff meeting, that's where you can also say, okay, should we do where we're going to do the visits to establish where the problem is exactly. So
You come back again to the staff meeting and say, now we do research.
okay.
Or possibly feedback loops.
Yeah. Feedback, yes.
So we go to the feedback loops. Okay. Learning events.
What would a learning event in this case be? It's where you have the green cards. You have some ideas there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So to folks online, I've just put a comment there. Okay, just checking in. Any questions, any comments? Okay, great.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't find the one you need, you fit invent one.
There's some blank cards, and then people can write on them with a whiteboard marker.
What did you ask? What would the learning event look like? And what are we learning? What are we learning?
I was thinking in terms of you're going to the market and you're learning what you're observing. Yeah, you're monitoring what exactly is happening, what is the market. You're making observations to what's causing the men not bring back what they're supposed to be to bring. I don't know.
I'm curious if this is a real scenario and we're going to get the answer.
No, there is no answer.
Okay.
Oh, already.
There is no answer. But I can comment on it afterwards. But there is no answer.
I think we have a problem, right? So as soon as we go, we had a. It's not well designed. It's quite noisy. Just for the folks online. There's these supplies that get pushed on trolleys along the hallways in the UN here every once in a while. So just waiting for that to go by so folks online can hear. Well, as soon as we have a problem, right? And we've collected that, we've met as a group, which is the staff meeting. And then as soon as that, we've collected the information in terms of with the informal learning and as well the research that we've done. And now that we've gotten the feedback from the people involved, those are the husbands and probably the people in the market. And now we're learning, what have we learned from it? Now from that, then we can make a projection of what we'll do next. So I think that could be our decision tree. What do you think?
Remember that yellow, you're still in blue, so it's all good. Yeah, but then you're moving through the yellow, so you need to process the information. That's where you're talking. Decision tree, and this is decision tree is in this case is basically you decide what to do next. So it's like a pause and reflect moment where you're like, okay, we know all this, and then we make the next decision. So after that, you probably need to move up to the next.
Lotta, can you just review the colors again? So gray is learning.
Yes, it's the learning. It's the input when you get input. Okay. And then you sit there and you know all this stuff. You're so full of learnings now. So you need to process it.
And that's the yellow.
That's
yellow
the yellow.
Process.
You prioritize, you think through it, competing priorities, and then the red is adaptation.
Okay.
I think I would tighten this a little, or rather, because all of them are basically information sourcing and trying to understand the process, even the learning can possibly go there. Just a thought, because basically after the staff meeting, there are things that can be done all together. You can have one person site visit, another one doing informal, another one doing something else. And then after that, as we come closer here, we get to the decision tree. Yes. Yeah. The feedback should come after everything. Yeah. Possibly here.
Yes. And there's after action review, maybe.
Yeah. To mention that as a good tool.
Like a debriefing.
And where does the monitoring go?
Because we haven't exhausted all the blue ones. The stakeholder.
You don't have to take all
the
stakeholder was here, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
I thought we had it.
Just a process note for people, especially those online. Lotta's given me permission. I'll take a picture of each of the colors after, and I'll post that in our resource photo, so you have those, those concepts after. And maybe I'll take a picture of the board too when you're done.
Assessment, monitoring.
From what you said in the staff meeting, just thinking back, the idea, Rita, was hold a staff meeting and then get the team to do separate things. Shouldn't we then have different tracks that are related but not connected, so that the group that is doing the site visit ends up somewhere and they all join together? The group that's doing research, we find then the research activities and the learning, so that then the teams are working separately but interrelated, interconnected, as opposed to it being everyone is doing everything. It invalidates the purpose of the staff meeting.
There is an review card here. So I can take, for example, stakeholder engagement. Stakeholder engagement, I don't think just means the end of the process. It can be also feedback on where this is going. Somebody else, well, possibly everybody will do a site visit. Okay. But you all then share out to stakeholders. Somebody does informal learning, another one research, another one something, and then we do a review. Where is the country? Here. Review and then possibly decision tree, or review and feedback loops. Feedback comes before the right? Yes. So just a question about the game, like the black and the green circles, do we place them on top, and even the blue ones, where
you put them on top if you need them. If you feel like you want to specify the stakeholder you want to engage, or you feel you want to specify the research product or the learning event. That's it. So it's subcards, but you put them on top or wherever you think they fit.
But what are the green ones again?
Learning events.
So we have a learning event here, which we haven't decided. Do we want to go down already, or do we do that at the end? What do you think? We do that at the end. Yeah.
So then I would suggest go to the yellow.
Okay.
Go take next. Yeah.
Someone maybe reads the yellow card.
Okay, there is project design, learning network, learning agenda, mission leadership council, retreat, portfolio reviews,
Yeah, they're all very USA specific. So think about what is that fora where you need to process the information and start making the decisions when you have competing perspectives and ideas.
Let's go for a retreat. That's the kind of thing. And at the coast.
Or Naivasha.
Yeah. There'll be somewhere else.
Activity design.
Why are we going for a retreat? To put together the information. Come on,
So from the decision tree. Oh no, after action review, then we go for it. And it was okay where it was. I think because after feedback loops, after action review, decision tree, the retreat, then we. Sorry, if you can just talk a little louder when things going by again.
You only have a few more minutes.
I have a systems map here, which is a visual description of like how it works. So I think during the retreat, you can make yes, yeah. Possibly in between decision tree and actions. Because the decision will be how we are moving forward, the retreat will be the map.
Project design.
No,
actually, no.
Probably.
There's the learning network.
Learning network. You take it to the learning network to is this right? That what we're thinking, you have the decision tree, you have carved out more or less what the solution should be. Where do you take it? Yeah, so you have already used the stakeholder engagement card, but the learning network could be the next. Like you have a group of people with really great minds.
That can come after you've done a system, possibly as a transit, or to just weigh or validate whatever ideas you come. So I'll possibly put it there after the project design.
And now you
learning agenda.
Where's the learning agenda then?
Because the trip relates to learning language. Because it's basically you have done your learning networks, they validated, they say this, and then now you possibly roll it out in bits to see if portfolio review as well.
And there's Mission Leadership Council.
That's a leadership council. It's where it's equivalent to, you think of a decision-making body in your organization.
There's the learning agenda. I think it should be somewhere in between the retreats. Why? Because it says tasks. It's a set of broad questions that, when answered, enables to improve. It should be at the start of any program planning activity. So somewhere here, so that during the retreat you're able to synthesize and come up with this.
What do the cards be processing?
So if you felt like there was something you needed to do here that's not on the cards, you just add it with the market.
Retreat.
Yeah. So I think you should go to the red now. I think you can't spend more time now on the thinking.
Yes.
I just want to jump in. Chad has said, I really want to try this game. I tried a Google search but couldn't find any information. Is there a way to learn more for us online folk?
He needs to call me.
So Chad, and for everyone else, so know that the PowerPoint will be shared online. I'll share Lotta's information her contact information. And I'll also take a picture. She's given me permission to take a picture of all the individual cards and the final board. So hopefully between those pieces, that will be helpful for you. Yeah, it's fascinating. I can see lots of different uses for it too. Yeah.
We do have time to evaluate the process.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I'm just.
That's why I'm you need the red now. So
okay. Let's get the program moving.
We actually felt we're getting into the development space of trying many things to.
We're doing too much, or
analysis paralysis and 5-year program.
And it's funny, like the reaction, like your personal I'm also like, can we just like get to Uganda and sort it? You know, like all these meetings.
Okay, so there's implementation data, there's senior management team, contract modification, activity work plan revision, and project implementation. So
activity plan revision.
Yeah.
Perhaps because we have to revise us.
Well, I feel the need here to start implementing, isn't it? So maybe the project implementation.
We revise the implement.
But what was the result, hypothetically, of the yellow? What did we come up with? From the review, the retreat, the site visits, what do we now do?
I think we have information that can help us review the project, like reflect on the project and review it accordingly before.
I think we're focusing a lot on these cards and the names, but less on the actual issue at hand. Like, why are we doing what we're doing, kind of thing? Because I guess this is new, so we're just kind of lost.
Yeah, exactly.
And making it more specific, does that help? Like thinking of like which stakeholders are we talking about actually?
Yeah, like when you think about this household and the fact that they're not educating their girls, how are we going to use these cards to correct that?
Yeah.
So should we go with also contract modification?
Well,
the event that
I asked a lot of questions, just get us to think. So what did we see there that leads us to say we need to modify?
Okay. We've already sent us some information that we've gotten from the project and when the activity, the plan revision. So we want to revise the plan to suit what we want, okay? The outcome that we really want as the project. So we're looking.
Do we want?
The
It's meant to be bringing back money
at home.
So the money should be brought back home.
Yes.
So instead, it's like an M-Pesa can actually use.
Exactly.
So when the customers come to buy, let them M-Pesa the money to that can be linked to their wives as well.
Problem solved.
So that, exactly, that is actually, I think it's really good that you're working through this, because that is project implementation. You're changing the project right now and you just do it differently. However, to be able to see whether the new change was making the effect or affecting the project in the way you wanted it to be, you will have to document it. You will have to revise the work plan, and you will have probably the contract modification if there is a contract somewhere where you've told everyone that this is what we're going to do. So you're right. It's probably these can't be standalones. They need to be right.
And just a really quick comment for folks online: M-Pesa is mobile money here in Kenya, which I dearly miss whenever I leave Kenya. We can send money with our mobile phones to anyone and pay bills, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. So now quickly, you have the stakeholders. If you want to be more, or we skip them. I think that what normally happens is that groups forget the stakeholders, and then afterwards they put them on, and they're like, "Oh, why didn't we think about this from the beginning?" You know, because you can actually reduce some of these and remove them if you put the smaller cards on. It will become quicker because you will get the information and the solution a lot quicker. Okay? So I want you to stop now because we need 15 minutes to debrief. Yeah. So first, tell me something. Your first thoughts. What's your first reaction?
My first reaction, I suppose, based on my personality, was to try and figure this thing out. What are we trying to do here? We assume we know the problem based on conversations with few women on the farm. And we will then do what most development partners do, is create a big program or change an entire program to create solutions that don't work for anyone. So to figure out, the black part for me was the most important part. What is the problem? And then spend time in the sensing phase of the project or project review, and then quickly move to the end without spending too much time on the yellow and the red. And it was fascinating listening to different perspectives and having all those questions that were answered very eloquently from different perspectives. Yeah.
Other thoughts? Anything on the collaboration in this group?
Well, it's very engaging. I like it. That's, I think, the beauty of a game or making it visual. It's not boring. So it's definitely. But still, because you're not like, it's not like, there's a lot of unknown. So of course time is limited. So
yeah, it's not a boring engagement. I can picture doing this with a team of staff and everybody will enjoy.
I thought about it. I'm self-employed and have been for many years, and one of the things I find challenging is to do strategic planning and just take a step out of the client work. And I'm trying to set aside some time in December and January to do that. And I thought, oh, there's a lot of pieces here that I can use for that. I think it's very flexible. And I also love the honeycomb. I like they're not squares. Yeah. It's aesthetically, it just looks more adaptive, I suppose. Yeah.
Would you find this game, so let me first start with why I'm asked the collaboration question, because lots of the unknown is also, I mean, if it were like a real situation, you would have more knowledge from the beginning. You would have a history also of what happened and blah, blah, but you would also have more assumptions, So having the hand and eye, doing it like this will help reveal where those assumptions are. But you need somebody who asks critical questions, right? You didn't do that from the beginning, right? So you were respectful of the group, and that's fantastic, right? Because you don't really know each other, yeah. And I could also sense that we had some more here coming that should have been said from the beginning, right? But you don't really know each other, so you're not really comfortable stepping in and saying, come on guys, let's think about this, right? So we didn't really drag the potential out of the group. So that's what I'm also saying, when you're building a learning organization, you have to have some kind of knowledge of organizational development. How do you build trusts? How do you make sure that people are comfortable in the room? How do people get to know each other? All of that, because otherwise you won't find a good and efficient path. That's the thing, right?
By the way, there's I was speaking at a Humantum conference, and someone was talking about trust in the workplace, and they mentioned this very interesting resource in the development space, and I linked to it in a blog post, so I'll put that in the resources, and you can download it for free. Yeah.
Just wondering, are there, like you said at the beginning, there's no good or wrong, but I assume that there are certain steps which are always following each other, isn't it? Or there is a certain
flow, which should always be, or what do you think?
So yeah, listening to your reasoning here, you are on spot, because what you did was basically, we need to talk to people. You know, that was your first thinking, you know, informal learning, site visits, definitely go out and see, is this just from one conversation we had on the field, you know, or is there some truth in it? However, the next step should probably be evidence. And you were there thinking about it, and you have the feedback loops. You can do an evidence-based feedback loops where you actually collect the data. You actually do some surveys, you go out and talk to all your beneficiaries, you go to the market, you have a case study. I would have definitely put a case study there. It's something where it doesn't have to be costly. You know, something where you have some kind of professional eye on the evidence. Is this true? But you need to engage people before, because they won't change unless they acknowledge that there is a problem from the beginning. So they need to be involved in the problem setting, right? So that's that, and you're so close to the action, so you know that. So that was no, that's not the case in USA all the time. But you went there immediately. Where you're then thinking is where your problem is, and that's because the cards are not very helpful for you, because they might be different in USA than they are in your organizations. Where do you process that information? And I don't know if you have those arenas and platforms in your organizations, because it might be the board, or it might be the, I don't know, but it's still, or it might be on your own. That's, you know, but think through that, because if you are teaching learning, you should be able to use other brains to do that, because the result will be better. So it's actually, you know, you can call me next time, Leanne. Yeah.
And then I'm just thinking of what we did last year, Leanne, with the life lenses and the stop and go, and so if you are someone who just likes to move fast, this is really time consuming. and wasting a lot of money. I'm a go person, for sure. And so, but it's so good to think it through, like evaluation and monitoring, and so it is a very interesting tool.
And just to bring people along with that, so life lenses is a tool that I've designed, and it helps look at what comes onto your radar easily, naturally, and comfortably, and what do you miss. And one of the dynamics are stop people who their automatic reaction is to press on the brake, and then go people whose automatic reaction is to press on the gas. And I think another level to this game is debriefing because part of what you're pulling out is assumptions, right? Where do you default to automatically without even thinking about it? And what's really positive and strong about that? And then where are the gaps? And so part of this, you could use that stop and go lens, right? Like, oh, this is hard. I just want to, because there was two of you, right? It was like, I just want to go. And what are some of the other biases that, because there's pros and cons, right? To being a stop person, there's pros and cons to being a go person. And what are the other biases in this that this thoughtful, layered process helps tease out?
But let me also say that having the cards make you talk about that. So the go person and the stop and go. It's like you with the card, you have to talk about it. Should it be there? Should it be here? What are the assumptions behind it? So that's why the game is useful for you, instead of having the same conversation around the table without the game.
And I think another interesting piece to it is, and I know people have different reactions to this term, but another way you could debrief it is also talking about what's your theory of change, right? I just had a really interesting conversation with UN Habitat. Is this really great consultants being brought in, and all 100 or 200 people are going through these 2-day trainings, and it's really focused on individual change, right? So it's very good. It's really behavioral based, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. and potentially the structural piece is missing. And I've been thinking about this a lot because I've designed, or in the process of designing this tool. If you imagine a quadrant, where this quadrant here, you know, this side is individual change, right? So you focus on those attitudes and behaviors and all of that. And then the other side of the quadrant is structural or systemic. So you're looking at policies and you know, procedures and all of those systemic things. And then you put the change that you want on the other axis. So it gives you 4 different quadrants to kind of brainstorm how can you know, bring about change to whatever issue it is that you're working on.
I would love to hear about how you did you develop this game like after that workshop? And
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
I did not know that.
I love that. And so can you share a little bit of how you have implemented the game and any success stories or even the not so successful stories?
Yeah.
And she's pressing on the brakes again.
on the
But you wanted to say something first.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things that I like about the game, and which I have always hated about the chats when you're doing such kind of a thing, is the paralysis that she was talking about, because of people not being mentally aware of all the steps that are needed to complete the process. You find you get to stakeholder engagement and the learning, and you're there for a whole day. And so what I like about the board game is it shows you where you need to be working towards, and also gives you suggestions. So your mind doesn't again have to keep searching for what needs to be done. So it's almost like helping you accelerate in a nice way, of course, involving everybody, because then when you know the various cards, it's easy to keep thinking, where does this come from? Where does this go? As opposed to the charts.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very holistic.
Did you notice what it's called? Makusudi. Deliberate. Intentional. So so you right, because you're spot on. You are deliberate about how you
just for the folks online. So how do you say it again?
Makusudi.
Makusudi is a Swahili word.
No, it's Swahili.
Meaning deliberate intention.
You want too far though. Okay. Just Japanese.
Can I also just insert? I just want to do a time check. We've got about 5 minutes of formal gathering time, but of course you're welcome to continue to gather after. So
I will answer that question, and then so the liberation in it is that you might have to lay out the entire pathway to be able to see how the different pieces are feeding into each other. So next time, and that's the learning plan that you need for your organization. So being more deliberate with how you're going to learn in your organization systematically to achieve better outcomes, okay? So that's exactly what we're talking about, and that's the intention with this, okay? So 2 reactions when I've been working with the donors. First of all, it's like, wow, we didn't really see that this is CLA, their concept that, it's been pushing from the agency. We didn't really see that, but now it's like, this is it. It's not more complicated than this, it's just taking a few activities after each other, and then you think about this, how to involve the stakeholders and collaborate around. Easy. Many of them have said, we need it in real situations. So when they design new projects, for example, they need the cards. When they are doing the activity MEL plans, M&E plans for all the different projects, they need this so they can plan for how they're going to learn. So they kind of wanting the cards to be with the team so they can play it in real situations when they are creating whatever they need to create in their own organization. So it's both for training and for training and learning what CLA is and how to work around adaptive management. There has been one failure. Let's put it out there. And that's when I can't when there is someone in the group, one person in the group who is jeopardizing the entire conversation and makes it fun and not really like a learning tool, right? When it's getting, and I couldn't manage it to become useful for the rest of the team members. That's like when hierarchy plays into it, and you know, the group maybe they know each other too well or something, and they'd like, okay, let him, you know. I think that's the only, but for the rest of it, I think it's just, it's so free, so you adapt to fit your needs, right?
So you have used it for like US8 mainly.
Yes, both.
And it's also written towards that situation.
Yes.
But how would you use it for other like companies or organizations or?
So we've said that we are open to bring it to other companies and to other organizations. It comes with me though. It comes with a facilitator. You know, because it's so we're not handing it out. We're just saying that, okay, right? I'm happy to share it, you know, that's no problem, but there is a process around it.
Yes.
And it's facilitation skills also for what you're looking for rather. So we're definitely happy to go to other organizations also.
And you know, no promises, but we've just been jamming about, like brainstorming about, could we put this online? Could we make this into an online tool in a really fluid, creative, engaging way? I just want to draw our attention to the time. Did you have a quick comment or question?
Just a quick comment. Very good for development projects and projects that are needing funding and all, but maybe for corporates, the way I would see this work is with different kind of cards, for example, because then they would be more geared towards decisions taken, not necessarily involving the stakeholders are there, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So the cards and the descriptions would possibly need to change, but they would
there could be, it could be customized, right? You could have a bit of a prior assessment, and then the cards, especially online, you know, would automatically be adjusted.
This is printed in the States, but we printed one in Uganda also, and it's not very expensive. So it's possible.
She had asked about your inspiration, I think, to do this, or how you came up with the idea.
No, it was Leanne's presentation. So because it's been there all along. I think that learning CLA as a concept, learning adaptive management, is learning by doing. So you just do it, and you start organizing it. And the idea came up when I saw that it was snakes and ladders from the beginning. Talks about the game Snakes and Ladders, where you go back and you go up, and then it's like, oh, why don't I do this as a game?
And so just to give some context, so I've designed a game that reinforces, when I'm doing training of trainers, so I'm working with subject matter experts, it reinforces all the content by playing Snakes and Ladders. So,
it's fun. It's
different. Well, and from a brain-based learning, we know that when people
retention
sink
is
into
high.
Exactly, retention really goes high.
Is that one online, the learning and development? Because
Yes.
I missed that one,
So-
and I'm now very intrigued.
Yeah, so with your permission, it sounds like there's lots of other things to chat about. I'm just going to start to officially close, but know that you are welcome to continue to chat. And at this point, if I can throw it over to Halima. And just as she preps, so I just want to say I will aim for next week to get this video posted on our YouTube playlist. The email, if you're on the Learning and Development email list, so if you got an email directly from me, that means that you're, like, if you got an invitation directly from me, it means that you're on the Learning and Development list, which means that you'll get an email when everything's posted. And everything means I'll post Lotta's contact information. I will post the PowerPoint and the video. I will link to the workshop that she's talking about. Okay, so you can, that's so cool. I had no idea that this was spurred by that. I will link to some stuff around learning culture, because we've talked about that, so some posts I've written about that, and also the post on trust, which links to that, resource that you can download. So if someone forwarded you this information, or if you found out about this workshop through a Facebook post, like in another, I post in different Facebook groups, you may want to get on the list that guarantees that you get the invitations. So the link to join the Learning and Development Roundtable list is in the agenda, so take a look at that. And I'm just going to throw it over to Halima for a sec.
Appreciation.
Oh, thank you.
For this wonderful game. And we're trying to take care just to show us what CLA means, and we're hoping that we'll put it into practice. At least we're hoping that you can also make it online so that at least you can access it. And in the future also, if there's games like this, please let us know so that we can at least network and learn more. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this is totally volunteer. Lotta does not get paid to do this. It's completely, her contribution to our community. So hugely grateful. I am just going to quickly share our screen here. Just switch screens. No, I haven't. Oh, sorry, that's okay. Oh, sorry, no, I did. Take it. Yeah, I'm just, yeah. Oh, and that's the other thing I'll do. So I'll put on, I'll upload into our portal pictures of the individual cards as well as this one. So we have just a couple of really quick things to, this is the link here to sign up. That will mean that you'll get all the emails for all the invitations, you get the links for our resource portal, etc. This is the link to the Facebook group. So we have a pretty active Facebook group. Please feel free to join and post and ask questions and offer resources and tell us about events, etc. We have a portal for your icebreakers, energizers, and group builders, but there's a little bit of a catch to it. You have to enter your favorite icebreaker or energizer or group builder, and once you do, then you get access to the database. So if you're looking for some new activities, feel free to do that. Also, we have a contact list. Right from the very beginning, folks asked that we not share contact information. So you'll notice when the emails come out that you can't see the particular email. However, if you want to join this contact list, you're more than welcome to do that. And we have 7 years of write-up. So all the agendas, all the speaker PowerPoints, everything is in this massive document. So you could go in there and click game and it will take you to that workshop. But I will also put that in this month's update. And please let me know for workshop topics, suggested speakers. I would really love to hear from you. Just quickly, any community announcements? Anything going on in your community that you want to share?
Yes.
Halima.
On the 7th and 8th of December, we've got a bazaar at Kibra Primary. It's called the Nubian Souk. So I'm inviting you, come with lots of cash.
So Halima's talking about a bazaar on December 7th and 8th. So you'll put that in our Facebook group?
Sure, I will. So
Nubian Souk, if you're here in Nairobi. Anything else? It's Biz Baz this weekend, the bazaar in Kuro, which is kind of a fun thing. Anything else? Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I think it's brilliant how you share all the resources, and just wanted to say a big thank you for that. Yeah, because it's so nice. Like even 2 years later, I am Googling what was it again about the live lenses, and then I'm finding all these resources. So thanks so much for that.
That makes me feel really good. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, if you haven't already donated
the envelopes here. Please, we do get charged for those badges, whether people show up. So after every, and I know a couple people can never make it, and then I have to chase them for money and blah, blah, blah. So please, because otherwise it comes out of our donation pot. We generally, sometimes we can do more guest speakers lately, but we sometimes alternate workshops with networking sessions. And the networking sessions I share a little topic, talk about it briefly, and then people get more time to work together. Our next meeting is January 17th. So have a wonderful, if you celebrate a particular holiday in December, have fun, enjoy, relax, and hope your New Year starts off really, really well. Just one very last thing. Please don't, when you leave this room, don't take your tag off until you leave the compound. Security will get very anxious with you if they see that you don't have a badge on. So make sure you keep this on until you leave the compound. And thanks to everyone online. Diana Rose says, thank you all. I really enjoyed the meeting. Thanks to those in person. Thanks to those online. We appreciate you. And thanks for adding to our community. Have a great weekend. Thanks. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you, Diana Rose. You're awesome. Thank you.